staff who will walk you through, hey, this is the thing, this is why this works, this is why this happened. And then I'll bet you dollars to donuts, a lot of folks are going to be waiving even more fines than they already are, to be honest with you.
Perfect. Awesome. That helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Good question.
And if anybody has any questions for us, let us know.
I have a question. How are we evaluating this? In other words, do we, for example, do we have a baseline of how many books in the collection right now? I read an article recently about, must have been the UK libraries had 25 million books overdue. I don't know whether they have fines or not, and they had I think a larger number of books that had disappeared. So my question is, do we have a baseline so we can assess this, the effectiveness of this over time, let's say from a year from now?
I think all of those stats are pretty much available in our Simply Reports reporting module. So anything that we wanted to get, we could get. So if we wanted to say, like, to write our report, I pulled up, how many people in certain zip codes have more than $5 in fines, so aren't able to use the thing. So any stat that we thought would be valuable, we can pretty much find in that. So if we wanted to say, did anybody who maybe previously had fines on their card, have they started coming back and using the library? Or have we seen more people sign up for a library card because we're fine free now? I think a lot of the best positive feedback that we'll get from that will be like a anecdotal type thing of people just kind of saying, I'm so glad you guys have gone fine free, it's made this and this difference in my life. But the stats definitely are available any way that we want to get at them, Ed.
Okay, well, I'd like to know over time, how many books are overdue, in totality, not, let's say it's 1 million books, not 1 million, but certainly it's a significant number. And does that change for the better, or does it stay the same? Is it immaterial to the number of books that are overdue? That's something we should look at periodically.
Yeah, I'm really interested, and Katie can speak to this too. Many libraries that have gone fine free have seen a reduction in the amount of books, or an increase in the amount of books that have been returned, because they get the notice that the book needs to be replaced earlier than they did previously. So we step up the time when we say, oh, this book, you need to have returned this book. We step that up, and people actually tend to return. Other places have found that people tend to return their books in a more timely basis once you get rid of the overdue fees, and to get rid of the replacement charges. So that is definitely something that we will keep an eye on, and hopefully be able to report back that we saw an increase in books being brought back as well.
Great. So we can expect a periodic report. I don't mean every month, but just to assess this, that would be great. Thank you.
Ed, would you be comfortable with the 3, 6, 9, and 12? Would that be appropriate?
Months, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. But also question, like poor Babette, who owes so much, are we giving her, telling her bring all her stuff in, and she's gonna be liberated?
I think we can offer a degree of grace on this. I think that we can offer some forgiveness. We waive a lot of fines as it is. And I think that this would be a great opportunity for us to have an amnesty, which is something that a lot of libraries do, which is quite popular. And Ed, just to give you a sense of scale, Katie, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but when we were looking to come back from the shutdown, one of the main concerns that we had when we reopened the book drops was that at the time, I think we had something like 185,000 materials out in circulation. And that was just a regular day for us. We weren't anticipating on shutting down the library. So just kind of gives you a sense that, on any given time, not necessarily entirely OCPL city, but OCPL system, there's over $150, there's over 150,000 items in circulation at any given time, just as a kind of general rule of thumb.
Well, that would be useful to Sam's point about, well, if we get any kind of media coverage for any of this to remind people about how much our libraries are getting used.
I would also argue the reasoning behind why we're doing this is important. So, thinking about how many more books are returned or not is important, but I think the goal of this overall is the usage of the library and giving people access. So I would just ask if it's not too much more to also be thinking about, either unique visitors or returning users of the library. At least in the report that you all sent, it seemed like that's the goal. And so reporting on that, both from just making sure that the policy is doing what we want, but probably also just as importantly, showing to other libraries within the systems, within this system that, it solves the policy problem that we saw before, I think could be really effective. And it shows good leadership and even just another, entry into the larger movement overall across the country. So having some good outcomes there, I think could be good just for the larger movement overall.
Yeah,
Okay.
my questions had to do with assessing what's happening, what has it resulted in, how has it changed behavior? Not so much,
Absolutely.
not so much punitive stuff.
Mark did send us information on the budget implications. And so I want to acknowledge that we do have that information. We know that fines are a small percentage of any library's income, and that it's not guaranteed income. It will vary from year to year. And again, a very small percentage. So I
Bill,
don't know
I'm
if
ready
there's
to put the motion on the table that we discussed the last month, I think was kind of the form of it. And I'm ready to put it on the table. I think it's time to,
the
for
motion
decision.
the last month was resolved that the OCPL board accepts the recommendation of the executive director and will work with staff to develop a plan to eliminate fines for all patrons starting the first of the year 2022 for OCPL City.
Well, I'll move that we implement the recommendations. And are we talking about an effective date immediately or January 1?
It was the first day of.
Right, that's what what was said last month, but I'm asking the question.
I think having 6 weeks or so for us to work up all the stuff that Sam's asking for, get our reporting ducks in a row, work up some messaging, write our
January
press
1, you're
releases.
saying.
I think Jan 1 would be great. Be a
fine.
nice holiday move, I think.
Okay, I'll move it for January 1.
Second,
Oh, that was Tim. Tim, thank you. So moved by Ed, seconded by Tim. Any further discussion? Any discussion?
I just have one suggestion, Christian, in working up the publicity. Look for, you don't have to name the patron, but look for an example. The press will love to latch on to somebody like that Englishman who owes $500,000 as an example of, some people, have accumulated fines and we want to discourage preventing them from accessing the library, something along those lines. But, they need a tangible example to make it relatable.
And since we've had fine free for veterans and have had fine free in the city for children, there might also be some positive examples of how people have already benefited from this that can go in the paper. Tim, thank you for that. Okay, so we will vote and I'll do roll call. Etta,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes,
Tim,
Yes,
Christina,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Babette,
Yes.
Maria, is Maria still here?
Yes.
And Lenore,
Yes.
and I'm also yes. So
unanimous.
unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks for all the
everyone.
work on this.
Thank you,
It's
everyone.
Great to see.
My pleasure. So happy.
Thanks for the presentation. We appreciate it.
Yes.
Next on the agenda, I know we're going to start scheduling staff presentations. I don't know if there's anything for this month.
I think Becky is in a space where she could talk for a couple of minutes if you have space for her. I know that she's ready and she's got her talk ready to go, but I know that you also have a follow-on session, so we defer to you.
Always
Um,
time for Becky.
Becky, let's give you a few minutes to talk.
Thank you. I just am going to talk a little bit about my position here at the library. My job title is Administrator for Library Operations. You might think to yourself, what does that mean? So I am basically in charge of facilitating facilities and security. I'm very lucky to have great people in place in both of those positions, Tony Williams in facilities and Carrie, the head of our CET. So I'm really lucky to work with them. The first thing I had to do when I came into this position was the New York State construction grants, which is a really big project. And I spent some time going to each of the libraries, each of the branches, and really kind of talking to their branch managers and looking over the needs of the physical plant of the building itself, and thinking about different ways that we can improve them, and different things that we could do and apply for the New York State construction grants. I talked with them, I found out some good ones, but it would be very remiss of me to not give a shout out to Amanda Scabuli as part of this process. She is truly just a gift to this library system and such a great resource for us when it comes to any of the New York State stuff, including the construction grants. She worked not just with me, but with all of the members. And we were able to put together 3 major improvement projects for the branches, which I'm really excited about. I know that the application process is done, but I know that's just the first step of a long process, but I'm really looking forward to getting to improve each of those branches. As part of my position, I liaise with the other administrators. After I left Monday, I came down here and I got to really spend some time with my colleagues here. I started learning about what it meant to be an administrator, which I had not been before. And my job, as I see it, is to support the frontline staff and to make sure that they're getting the support and the resources they need to continue to do amazing work at each of the libraries. I want to, especially when it comes to facilities and security. I'm very lucky to be coming in while CET is in place. They have been doing a wonderful job with security. They really feel like part of our branch family. I hear multiple times a week from branch managers and other staff members who, you know, we've made close personal relationships with the CET staff. They're really invested in the library's goals, the training that they undergo. You know, they do literacy-based training. I also was at Noel Bay's presentation at NYLA, and they talked about vocabulary differences between people who are born in poverty and people who are born in different socioeconomic ways. And they learned that at their security training, their security guard training. So I just am continually impressed by how much they care about our communities and how much a part of the family each one of them really feels like at all of the branches. I came into this with some security experience. As the Mundy branch manager, I was on our security committee, and I have been kind of working in that position for a while. So one thing that Christian started doing when he first came here was calling each branch after a security incident and just kind of debriefing the staff. So I do that now. That was something I really liked when I was branch manager, and something I've tried to continue. Another big part of my job, as I see it, is to make connections between different stakeholders. I'm really grateful that my office is right next door to Mark Carter's. He is an amazing resource for the library. He knows so much about the county and so much about the ins and out with the budget that he's definitely the smartest guy in the room, and very funny as well. So I really appreciate him. And lots of times you can see me just kind of sitting in his office learning about parent-child accounts in the budget and, you know, different ways that we move money around and where the money comes from. And he's very generous in sharing his knowledge with me. So I appreciate that. I've only been in this particular position at OCPL for about 3 months, but I've been here for 16 years, and I've served in different positions. I've been teen librarian, children's librarian, head of cataloging, branch manager, head of cataloging. That was a wild time. But I just want to say that it's an honor to be in this position and to be able to support the work that I know that is being done at our libraries every day. And, you know, I've seen firsthand the difference that our libraries make in the lives of the people in our community. And I'm lucky to still be a part of that and to be in this role now. And that is my presentation. Thank you.
It's been wonderful to work with. She's brought the whole light to the admin wing, and her abilities are really, really on showcase. She has been over every inch of every building. She has an innate knowledge of security. She has a great head on her shoulders in an emergency, and it's a real delight to be working with her. We're very, very lucky to have her.
Thanks, Christian.
Becky, thank you. And I don't think I realized you had been with OCPL that long. So that's an amazing length of career.
I was a wee baby of 26, if you can believe it. I've been here since then, and it's been the most wonderful career anybody could ask for. And I tell anybody who asks, be a librarian. It's the best job ever.
We hired her straight out of story time.
That's right.
Excellent, thank you.
Nice for us to get to know someone on OCPL leadership. Thank you. And you can, if you look in chat, you'll see that people are thanking you. Any questions for Becky? I know on the agenda, one of the resolutions is an M&T grant, but I don't think we received the M&T grant. So my assumption is that that is being held until next month.
Okay, I don't know if they have to have it voted on before they send it in. It's the same every year. So I don't know. Do you want to vote on it and I can send it out to you by the end of the week?
Is there a resolution? Was
Yeah.
there a resolution?
Yeah, the resolution's there.
So the resolution reads, this is resolution 2137, resolved that the OCPL Board of Trustees accepts the grant funds of $10,000 from M&T Charitable Foundations to support the 2022 Summer Learning Program. And so is this Christian, is this receipt of funds or requesting funds?
Honestly, on this one, I'm not entirely sure with you, Jill.
It's a request of funds.
Yeah, is that the literacy grant, the standing M&T literacy grant?
No, they accepting the funds because we already did the application.
Right. This is the one that Jackie did?
Yep.
Yep. So yes, we would be accepting the funds. We've already been awarded it, and this is work that Jackie did for part of our children's literacy stuff.
I'll move it.
Thank you, Ed.
Second.
Call the question. Jill, you're muted.
Thank you, Ed. So calling the question, Etta,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Christina had to leave, sorry. Sam,
Yes.
Babette,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Lenore,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. So thank you. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, so Sam, do you want to?
Jill,
Propose
one
a
thing
motion?
before we do that,
Yes,
the trustees are all liaisons with member libraries, and I got thinking about, wouldn't it be wise for us to also be a liaison to branch libraries?
that's something for us to talk about. And how to do that. And I say that knowing that we had a hard time dividing up the suburban libraries. So I think it's a yes, but we have to figure out how the best way of doing that.
Yeah,
Not
fine.
something for this meeting, maybe.
No, I
something-
was raising it for thought, to give thought to. Okay. Sam, I interrupted you.
All good, Ed. Anytime. All right, I'm gonna say, be it resolved that per section 105 of the Public Officers Law, this board shall move into executive session for the purpose of discussing the employment history of a particular person.
So Sam is moving that. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion before we vote? We have to vote to go into executive session. Okay. Babette,
Yes.
Etta,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Lenore,
Yes.
Maria,
Yes.
Sam,
Yes.
Tim, I think Tim's a yes. I think I saw him nod. Yes, I'm also a yes. So I'm going to open the room for you all to go into executive session, and I will follow you in a moment.
Jill, you're on mute.
I know, it does it automatically. So I've restarted the recording. The time is 6:07, and we have left executive session. Sam moved us out of executive session, so thank you, Sam, for doing that. In executive session, we discussed a personnel issue, and we want to acknowledge that we did discuss a personnel issue, and we'll follow up with the county. Is there anything else that needs to be said? Are we ready to adjourn the meeting?
I move to adjourn.
I
Tim,
second.
thank you. Babette seconded, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone want to stay later?
Thanks for your leadership, Jill.
Yes.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Take care,
Bye.
everybody. Happy
Bye.
Thanksgiving.
Happy
Yes,
Thanksgiving to you.
Thanksgiving.